right as this Cerveza virus stuff is coming down the pike.
Right.
And it's just, you see these videos of these acolytes of him talking about his philanthropic work, where it's like, the second chapter of the success of Bill Gates will dwarf all of your corporate success once you mobilize your philanthropy to its fullest potential. I mean, there's so many people that just say, oh, you're a genius and you will help save the world.
Most people here give money away, and that's the end of their thought process. And that's the problem, because if they did any of the math, like you said before, played a couple of those clips, I mean, think about this. There are 365 million people.
Give or take.
I mean, we've talked about the census and whether that's accurate or not. But these billionaires could easily give, everybody $1 million. They could buy and fund the infrastructure build out in some of these poor places. They could feed the places that are not able to feed themselves easily.
Just need water and sanitation and basic electricity for refrigeration, and you will get rid of 90+% of these diseases that he thinks that he has to go in there and save.
But
these
vaccines are the number one. It's like saying, the fluoridation of the public water supply is one of the top 10 public health achievements. And it's like, if you just listen to the Bernaysian, like if you understand the Bernaysian phraseology of the public health department,
right,
you would understand that the top 10 public health achievements are actually, silent weapons for quiet wars against the people. Mm-hmm. And the public health authorities are, everything is inverted. Department of Defense, but all we do is start wars preemptively. It's the public health department, even though they're destroying our health. The Federal Drug Administration, there's so many things that are just totally inverted. The Patriot Act, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. Do you think people are gonna? Most people recognize that there's this narrative that things are not really gonna get back to normal until somebody gets to plunge a needle into your arm. Like that is in the tea leaves. If you can see the scripting on the major news networks, and even a fraction about Bill Gates' involvement with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and their involvement with academia, right? So
the eugenics background goes all the way back to basically its founding. Is totally the ideology that comes out of the Fabian socialists. Bill Gates just laps it up. I mean, he's like the current luminary spokesperson for Fabian socialists.
And the American aristocracy has always been involved with eugenics.
Always.
There's
this creepy thing from the Fabian socialists, like George Bernard Shaw, he was one of the more cynical and kind of hardlined spokespeople for that ideology, and he said that in the future there should just be a commissioner or a board that sits around and hears people needing to justify their existence, or else they'll be put to death.
Oh, the Hunger Games, basically. I mean, the panel of experts is now there. This is their time to shine, and you see what towns are getting away with in terms of sitting up there. I mean, we talked earlier in the year about Orange County's attempt to implement gun regulations by passing a noise ordinance, which is probably not anything new to somebody who lives in a metropolitan, city or anything, a cityscape. But to people in a rural county, that is a serious infringement on freedoms. But like that was sort of there was some like resistance from the sheriff and so on. But now with Cerveza virus, I mean, the hesitation to order your sheriffs into extremely dangerous situations, to enforce ordinances that are totally not constitutional, that hesitation's completely out. And you see that like the rioting that's going on, the violent confrontations that are happening between people who are being policed with respect to social distancing, or just being told, yeah, you can take your McDonald's, but you can't dine in. And then, they shoot up the place. And I'm not condoning that by any measure, but I'm not surprised. I'm really, because you said they're poking the bear here, right? And is it a paper tiger? Is it not? I mean, some people have said, well, I think we are going to go back to normal because there's just going to be so much pressure. And my thought is, well, what if they want to start a civil war? Then that's
the perfect kettle pot.
Then they're going to push it until it gets violent. And just this whole auspice of reopening. I mean, I knew that this is just a new excuse to dole out a bunch of federal funds for a bunch of minders, and I mean,
contact tracing, all that stuff. I mean, HR 6666, and then lo and behold, Bill Gates and Microsoft coming out with this sort of cryptocurrency-esque mining scheme with the patent 060606. I mean, that's wild too. I mean, and it just goes to show that they want to stop at nothing of eviscerating people's sense of self-determination, any semblance of privacy, autonomy, freedom of association,
what
freedom
happened
of
to
assembly.
HIPAA, the Health Information Privacy Act? Like where my medical status is not your business. You're not my doctor. I don't authorize you to assess my medical state,
right,
or make any determination about that at all. But this is all these rights are going out the window.
That's right.
And I was talking to Orthogonal earlier today, and he made a really good point about the social conditioning associated with these infrared thermometers that you're gonna see them everywhere. If you want to go to the pool, if you want to go to the racquetball courts or whatever. You can't come in here until your temperature's checked. Well, they know people are not going to stick their tongue up and let some, high school graduate put a thermometer under their tongue. So we're going to get these thermometer guns. He's like, what kind of training is this? This is getting you trained to, take a gun to the head.
Right.
I totally,
Absolutely.
I was like, wow, that's a very astute observation. And, how far is it going to get before people are going to say no? I mean, I've already had my own altercations with overreaching TSA agents. I mean, by overreaching, I mean they were there at the airport. God.
They get billions in funding to produce security theater.
Right.
And break people's will and set up a normalization schema where people are just used to being groped or scanned or surveyed as though they're guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
And that's just more and more of the same thing. Oh, you're sick and decrepit and need our care unless you prove otherwise.
Right. Yeah. If you're listening, head over to Zetetic.news and check out our video here that we're talking over. This is a live interactive experience here. We're always surfing the web. We've got links up. We play videos. But I've got just an example of this. We talked about the panopticon, the dronopticon, the surveillance state we talk about it almost every episode, but in our first episode of 2020, we talked a lot about just the surveillanceification of society and the whole, doorbell ringers that are watching all the time and is streaming back to Amazon and so on. Now they're using the Google accelerometers in their phones and the GPS location and other metrics to supposedly, make sure everybody's social distancing and they're listening to see if you're coughing. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? This is just out of control ridiculousness under the auspice of medical benefit. I don't feel more protected. Do you feel more protected?
Not by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I think that it was Benjamin Rush, one of the founding fathers, who wanted to make an addendum or an amendment in the Constitution that would specifically forbid medical totalitarianism creeping into